Well, thank you very much. This is, well, he just put it into perspective I hadn't thought about. That this is basically forever. And I think about forever a lot anymore at my age, but this is very, very exciting. And there's a number of reasons, and I'll slip through them and won't be too long, but I was just thinking as I drove over, it's kind of nice in one way to receive this honor, but it's made me think of a few things in the past, and there's one that I don't like thinking of, and it's this. Next month will be 45 years since I last coached. Now, the last game I coached was in Virginia in the NCAA regional tournament, and we won the consolation round. So that's good. That's a nice memory. However, the night before, we lost in the NCAA regional when my coaching, my Hall of Fame coaching, took us with a 20-point lead with 18 minutes to go, and we lost. That's not a good memory. So I don't know how happy I am to be here because I hadn't thought about it in a while. I mean, a 20-point lead. And just one thing for those who are athletes and have been. I did all the stuff that Coach K would do at Duke. I substituted players. I changed our defense. I changed our offense. I called time. I did everything as that lead was just going down. But in those timeouts, I had some good players. I looked in their eyes and they were saying, "Coach, don't ask me to do anything." And it just was part of sports, as Sean alluded. It's all part of it, the pluses and the minuses. Now, I'm going to work myself up to be happy to be here, even with that loss. And one of the reasons I'm happy to be here is that Dan Baker is here. The last time I stood at this podium, Dan was inducted. And I casually said, well, really what happened, they moved me to the front because Sean was coaching and I had to leave his game over in Paulsboro, come here for Dan and then run back to the game because I never trusted him coaching without me in the state. So I casually said, I mean, it was guys, you know, I've never heard anyone say a bad word about Dan Baker. From Glasgow State, where he came after I left, to all of his achievements as the longest serving announcer in Major League Baseball at a stadium. I just casually said it because I felt it. 2 or 3 days ago, I came across an article or some people talking about you, Dan. Guess what they said? No one has ever said a bad word about Dan Baker. And what more can you ask for? He's a gentleman, he's a giver to people, and I'm very honored that you're here. I'm also honored that Cindy Willis is here. Now, she wouldn't know this, but I always sort of like admired her. She's tough. And when she was a track athlete at Princeton, even though we didn't compete, I would watch, and then, of course, as the athletic director, I've been to so many games, and when I look down, that she is on the board, along with Richie Cates, whose nephew played for Sean at Shalleck, and I dealt with when I was in the legislature. It's just nice, let alone these other gentlemen. Now, Don Bellella did coach Sean as a 9-year-old. I didn't like some of those things he told Sean. I was just a dad who kept his mouth shut. And they do win the league. And Frank Hurst, he wasn't bad today. You know, he's a lawyer, and you know how they go. Of course, I'm a lawyer, too. The difference is Frank is a multi-millionaire. And in my 30 years as a member of the bar, I made $3,000. I'm one hell of a lawyer. But it is. I'm very pleased. And it was so nice that Frank gave me a stick to put in the ground to talk about when he pushed family, and then Sean did. Because when you compete in athletics, you're always involved in a family, the team, your assistant coaches. But my family, many of whom are here today, are really a special group. And I'd just like to mention a few things about them. Now, Sean, we know, here's his picture, and this is his 3rd Hall of Fame, and he's going to have more. I mean, he's pretty accomplished, and I'll come back just briefly about him. But I want to talk about some of my other family members. I have 3 daughters who Sean tries to overlook, but they are special. One was valedictorian of her class in high school. 2 was ¡1 in the culinary school at Atlanta Community College and proudly calls herself Chef College. And the 3rd one is Sean's youngest sister, who had 10 varsity letters in high school and competed not just in track in high school, but also in college, javelin thrower. So. So then we ended up with grandchildren. We have 12. Each of them is accomplished in their own way. My oldest is the absolute authority on Star Wars. There is nothing that you want to know about Star Wars that my oldest grandson can't tell you about. And I'm serious. And then we had another grandson who batted over 400 in high school baseball. We have another grandson who was all-state in soccer. We have our youngest grandson of that group, who's the 2-time starting quarterback at Shalleck High School and just made all-conference in football. And then we have my other grandson, the authority on everything you ever wanted to know. He's right there. He's trying to hide. But what he is right now, Dan, he's a PR intern for the 76ers. And he's responsible for last night's 1-point loss. And then I have other grandchildren. I have one that's a Shalleck. You go through school, you go to Shalleck High School, and your name's Shalleck. That's a little bit of a challenge. But he's potentially a big-time baseball player. He's faking that he's in a boot because he doesn't want to play basketball anymore, so basically he got hurt the other night. And in football, he played his first year. I swear, you're going to think that. He was all-conference. He, in running back, receiver, received kicks, and so on. Afterward, we have a meet and greet. Jackson, make sure you let people see you. Ask him any question about football. He knows nothing. He doesn't know the offense. You think I'm kidding? All conference, he was phenomenal. His first year playing. I said to him, Jackson, what defense are you in? What are we doing? What do you know? He says, I don't know. I swear, you think this is made up. He says, I just asked Quinny. That's his cousin, my other grandson. I just asked Quinn what to do. I mean, imagine that. He's all conference. And then he has a brother who has killed my hair in this picture. It's longer. He thinks he's really going to be good in 7th grade. And then the creme de la creme, his sister, is going to be on the rodeo circuit as a barrel racer. So we're very, very fortunate. And I want to say one other thing. As I say, I have a granddaughter-in-law who's ready to have our first great-grandchild. And I really hate to say this, you're going to go back to Homing, but you know why we have all of that? Because of that woman right there. She grabbed me in college, helped me through there, and just as, done a wonderful job. And then I have one other grandchild who is the multifaceted one. She's a swimmer. She's a dancer. She's just special. So it is a big day for us, and we very much appreciate it. Final couple comments. Dan Baker said it, and I say it. No offense to Rowan University, where my son-in-law is a vice president. but we're Glassboro Staters. That's what we are. And in the back, we have one of the great soccer players, Colin. Can you believe I knew a soccer player? Rags Klimek back there, when soccer was soccer. Basically, they were all football players except for Rags. Okay? I mean, the soccer program was not much there. But this event is so great because of the things I said. And Sean has already mentioned Teresa Fuchs and the Fritzes. I mean, it's just wonderful. And we thank you. But I just want to say a couple things about him as a coach, because I've been hard on him over the years. You know, his sisters, oh, Sean's so good. He isn't better than me. He might have accomplished a little more. But I want to say this, and I've said it privately, I've told him. I told him yesterday. He has all these records, and at Paulsboro, it was phenomenal what happened. I mean, just as I'm saying, we were a Group 1 school, the smallest school. He won the state championship Group 1. He's the only Group 1 school, I think, in the last 30 years that won a game in the Tournament of Champions afterward. He coached Paulsboro to the #1 team in South Jersey, all groups. They were #1. Not Bishop Eustace, not St. Augustine, not any of that. It was Paulsboro, Group 1. And let me give a plug for Paulsboro. That year, what year was that, Sean? 16? 15? 2015. Now, I'm a Gloucester Catholic grad and a Shalleck fan. But let me just say this about Paulsboro, with all due respect to Bruce. This school in 2015, listen to what they did. They were the #1 team in football in Group 1. In basketball, they were the #1 team in all of South Jersey, all schools. In wrestling, we don't even have to go there, #1 in South Jersey. So Paulsboro, little Group 1 school, was #1 in football, #1 in wrestling, #1 in basketball. Here comes the kicker. In their senior class, they had 75 students. Think of that. They had 75 students in the whole class, and they were #1 in all those. It's a tradition, and he fit right into it. And what he did there, and what makes him so accomplished both at Shalleck, where when he became the coach, they had 2 winning seasons in more than 20 years, and they had a good player in Greg Fritz. But he went in, had a great player, and someone you might want to look at, Paul Gaulis. I mean, there's just nobody like him. And Sean won with him. Some people say, well, we have Paul Gaulis. Yeah, but he won. He won. They won 4 conference championships in a row. And you know why? Because this boy, or man, he has the ability to get people to play hard. It's a skill. It's the it that was talked about. And he's been able to do it with my help. But seriously, this is a great honor. And I think you can feel it in me. Because as I look out, all but one of my grandchildren I like. There's one I don't like. So I'm going to say, let's see if they can identify themselves as the evening goes. But, you all right, hon? And we got one coming. And where were Noxie? Where is Knox? Oh, Knox! That's him. He's going to smile by the time he's 12. One time he will smile. Well, enough of my babble. Seriously, thank you all very much. And I meant what I said, Cindy. I've watched, I've observed. You know, you got Michael Valella. And I will say this. My oldest daughter, hold your hand up. She's my oldest. She is just an accomplished person. She has a brother, Hall of Fame. I swear, this is not it. I'm going to ask her. Who's your favorite coach of sports?
Michael Valella.
Michael Valella! He's not in this dang that Hall of Fame. She loves Michael Valella. All right, enough of my babble. Thank you all for being here. It's a great honor.